Culture to medicine. The obesity and diabetes epidemic shows no sign of slowing down, and there are projections that by 2030, 60 million people worldwide might not be able to access affordable insulin. And inevitably, it's people in developing countries that are most at risk of losing out. But today, a partnership has been announced between global pharmaceutical company Novo Nordisk and South African-based Aspen Pharmaceuticals to produce insulin locally here in South Africa. Now, already Novo Nordisk is providing insulin for over 500,000 people with diabetes in the region. This is, of course, due to be boosted with today's announcement. And I'm joined now by Stephen Saad, CEO of Aspen Pharmacare. Stephen, always so great to talk to you. Access to affordable healthcare is such a massive challenge in Africa. How will today's announcement help people living with diabetes in the region?
It is affordable healthcare is a massive challenge, and you would want to believe that medicines like insulin should be freely available, or readily available at affordable pricing. And the partnership with Novo is a great one because Novo are committed to taking the number of lives, currently about 500,000, up to 4 million lives covered by 2026. So it's a steady ramp up. It's a very big opportunity, and their commitment around pricing is no more than $3 for a vial. So it really does make it affordable for all and affordable for Africa, where there is a huge disease burden. But of course, it's uncovered because so many of those people, the 60 million that you talk about that need insulins that don't get it, are sitting in the African continent.
Talk to me about the costing of insulin. I mean, you're saying it should be free, but we know that I think there's 4 companies that own all the insulin patents. Novo is one of them, but also Eli Lilly, Sanofi, and Pfizer. Is Novo Nordisk providing the cheapest insulin at the moment, and will it get even cheaper once local production starts?
So there are some biosimilar version or generic versions globally, but there are. So their commitment, as I said, was $3, which is a very affordable price for.
Is that free? And how long does a vial last normally? Is that
lasts about a month?
Okay,
about
so
a month,
three US dollars a month. So it's about 60 Rand a month.
Yeah, so it's a couple of Rand a day.
Okay.
So that's what it is. It's obviously multiples of that globally. I mean, the price that is multiples of that globally. So a real commitment from Novo, and assisted by the sort of manufacturer on the continent. So a really big opportunity to access many more people on the continent. I think also from a purely Aspen perspective and point of view, we had facilities that made COVID vaccines, which unfortunately, was somewhat truncated to what was anticipated in terms of production. So it's very nice for the people and the skills and the capability we have to once again be recognized for those capabilities by a massive multinational. They don't just partner with anyone, and to be able to assist, but also to, there's jobs involved in here. There's hundreds of jobs that are impacted, and it's very positive for areas like Quebec to have these high-skilled jobs. And we made a commitment. I think you might remember, Sally, where I was talking to you, I think at the time, where we said, look, we never ever want as a continent to not have access to medicines, or to be the last to access or the slowest. And to do that, we made the commitment as Aspen that we really wanted to get to 1 dose for 1 African, and we're building that capacity and capability, and we will be there soon. And so it's very important to get these type of volumes in, and additional volumes. And we're hoping that this is the start of further manufacturing initiatives to, 1, replace what we lost with COVID, but 2, to add, to be able to have the capacity capability.
And let's face it, I mean, I think diabetes, obesity is a pandemic, and it is only getting worse, tragically. I wonder if you can give me more details on your deal with Novo. I remember when you signed the Johnson & Johnson deal, I think it was just to fill the vials or something like that. Do you actually manufacture from scratch here in South Africa? Do you get the base substance and then fill it? Just give me more details of that deal.
We will get the base substance and fill it on behalf of Novo, and that's the substance of the transaction.
And when does that start?
So we've already started the tech transfer process, and the commercial process, in other words, when you actually start sending medicine to people, is in year 2024, the first from early in 2024, so a few months from now. We've been busy with the tech transfer process for many, many months now.
All right. And
It's not a simple thing to make. It's these are tricky, and so you've got to make sure your technologies are right, that you can do what's required, both for yourselves and NovoCheck. And then once we're both comfortable, then you can announce something like this.
Once it happens, is it going to become even cheaper? You're saying it's $3 a vial at the moment, and that's for a fully imported product. Is there a possibility that it could drop even lower once South African distribution and filling starts?
I think that's for Novo to decide. We've spoken initially and where we are. So that's where their price point is. And I mean, that is, those products you probably read globally run into, you could pay $100 or more a month in the US and things like that. So it's a very big discount. And, I'm sure that's something that Novo will assess as they go along.
Yeah. While we're talking about, we're talking about the patents for insulin held by just 4 big global pharmaceuticals. Recently, the Health Justice Initiative got access to the COVID vaccine contracts. I'm sure you've been following this story because it's absolutely important for your company. The early reports are suggesting really that the South African government was basically bullied into contracts that didn't favour South Africa, that we paid over the mark for a number of our vaccines. I wonder if you could give us your perspective. I mean, your deal with J&J was also sort of a filling and distribution matter. What is your response to this news that actually it seems we got the short end of the stick?
Yeah, I mean, I look to see what the health department. Of course, Aspen was simply contracting to J&J, so we weren't involved in negotiations with government or the contracts. But I look to see what the health department said, and the health department was clear. They said, "Look, we've got prices that we thought were in line, but we weren't in the front of the queue, and everyone was desperate at the time. If you remember at the time, yeah. I remember because we were making products that." We'll pay anything, we'll do anything, we just need product. And the reality, you don't want to be in that situation. And that's what we really try and achieve with these type of transactions, is that we never have your back to the wall, because you have capabilities, you have product, and it's affordable. In terms of the merits of the case, I don't know any much more than a layperson have said. The health department said they're very happy that these things are meted out. But I remember at the time, a very important thing was that the multinationals who did those transactions were really concerned because the vaccines hadn't been fully tested. And so they didn't have years and years of clinical data. As you know, it was sort of made on the run and quick test, and then it was approved. And so there was real concern that there could be repercussions, and that governments and people would sue the vaccine manufacturers if their vaccines didn't work. So, I mean, those were the issues that were on the ground at the time, and that needed to be catered for and dealt with in contracts. Whether or not it was bullying or not, unfortunately, I was never part of those transactions. So I think it's probably better to ask, the health department, etc. But there were very specific issues there that needed to be addressed, and not least, public liability.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Stephen. And I think your point is well made, though, that a preparation and with a view to what's going on around insulin production, making sure we're not on the back foot ever again as Africa, I think is the point that you are making. And I really appreciate your input. And thank you so much for giving us details on the deal. Stephen Saad is CEO of Aspen Pharmacare. They have made a deal with Novo Nordisk, and they're going to start filling and distributing insulin in South Africa. So